What's up, everyone? This will be another vintage bike restoration video because I'm really excited. I just got this very hard to find Fuji Outland from probably 1993 or 1994. Again, this is a vintage chromoly rigid mountain bike, 26-inch tires, and some Shimano group sets, front and rear, as well as the shifter. So um, this is not top of the line back then. This is more like an entry level, mountain rigid commuting kind of a bike with thick tires and cantilever brakes. So usually they have cantilever brakes to support tires that are usually thicker. If if it's more designed for road use, they'll probably be using either V brakes or the caliper brakes. Okay. Again, this bike is from 1993 or 1994. Very limited production. They didn't. It might not sold well, so they stopped making it only after 2 years. But the Fuji came back with the Outland since 2000 and kind of advertised the new Outland as a full suspension, kind of higher end mountain bike. So this is the original Outland that Fuji bought out, and this frame is in a burgundy kind of a red color, very beautiful, very eye-catchy with the yellow lettering. And this, of course, the letter is kind of scratched because the previous owner kind of just rested the bike around this area most of the time. Also some little scratches over here, but really it doesn't, there's no rust on this bike at all, so it's being well maintained. So it's always better to buy a bike with less rust because it's much better for restoration purpose. You might not have to replace a lot of parts. So let's actually just go over the bike and take a look and see what's working and what's not working. Okay. All right, you can come out. So Altus A10, this is actually a entry level group set that Shimano put out. I think one step below the Acera. This is the like entry level, so nothing fancy here. You have the Altus in the rear, Altus crankset in the front, probably a Altus A10 shifter and a Altus A10 shifter and breaker lever combo. So unfortunately the 7-speed shifter on this thing is broke. That's why I got it really cheap. I bought it, the seller agreed to sell it to me for $75. The catch is this shifting mechanism is totally broke. It doesn't shift. Probably something wrong inside, so I can always try to open it up and see if there's any possibility I can fix it, but most likely if I cannot fix it, I'll just replace the whole set with one of those entry-level modern 7-speed 3x7 speed shifters. Now I mean, the brake lever is actually in very good condition, and unfortunately if I need to replace the shifter, I have to replace everything, so I also need to buy a brake lever, sadly. That's why I usually don't like those combo shifters, because once they break, like one part break, you have to replace the whole thing. It's just like color ink cartridges that they always combine 3 colors together, like one color run out, you have to replace 3. It doesn't make sense, right? It's convenient, but it doesn't make sense economically. Anyway, so it's a whole Altus A10 group set. At least they kept it consistent. The brakes, I believe, let's see what brand are the brakes. I think it's also Shimano, probably Shimano Altus A10 brake levers, cantilever brakes as well. So a whole set of Shimano group set, not too bad. There is not a lot of rust on those cantilever brakes, which is always a good sign. Usually those brakes are very rusted if the bike has been seeing the rain or being left outside. Okay. Interestingly, for the wheel set, this is a 26-inch Campagnolo. Hopefully I spelled it correct, Campagnolo. 26-inch wheel set with what, Joytech bearing system. I don't know much about the bearing system, but it does look like it's a sealed cartridge bearing. For a bike at that age, I'm pretty sure this is probably not the original wheel set that came with the bike. It's actually a better wheel set that they might have replaced midway. Okay, so that's my suspicion, because if you look, it's actually got the Shimano levers over there, so I would assume the old wheel set was a Shimano and they actually just replaced the wheel set with a different one. Campagnolo, made in Italy, so this is definitely not one of the, I would say it's probably better than entry level well-made wheel set that you can find. So I'm glad I got the bike with a kind of upgraded wheel set. I think the model number is Beta, so I have to go and find out more info about this wheel set. The tires, your very standard made in Taiwan generic tires, so definitely tires has been replaced as well. But again, in surprisingly good condition, no rust. Everything works fine. Shifter probably works fine if I can get the shifter lever and the brake lever replaced. Dual SIS compatible. I don't know what exactly that means, but usually the shifters around that age, any kind of Shimano or SRAM 7-speed would work perfectly fine with this group set. So you have a lot of choice in terms of, you know, restoring your vintage bike. It's using a Presta valve, which is interesting, and on the back they have a Presta to Schrader valve adapter over there, but minimum rust on the frame, minimum scratches, just some artificial scratches around, and it's actually a fairly modern bracket. Like if you look inside, there are edge for me to actually take the bottom bracket out and check the condition, but since the crankset is actually, you know, there's no play and it's fine, so I'm not gonna really take the bottom bracket out. All I'm gonna do next is actually just use my PB Blast rust remover, just spray it on every joint possible and get the bike sitting in the rust remover for a couple days. And then next I'm gonna wash the bike, polish the bike, and replace all the broken components. Okay, so this is just you know, the first look at the bike. So I might come back and give you guys another view once the restoration process is complete, see what we did to the bike to make it, again, very nicely rideable, classic vintage condition. Okay, so see you guys in the next section. All right, guys, I have moved the bike inside, which means I have kind of assessed the overall condition of the Fuji Outland. This is a 1993 model, and I have actually already went ahead and kind of polished the frame and lubricated all the parts. So now the bike is pretty much in ready to ride condition. Now, one more thing that I found out is that needs to be replaced, but it's very minor, is the chain. So the chain is actually very worn. It's worn past the 0.75 point. So 75% of its useful life. As you can see, the chain is pretty stretched. This is really bad. And that's why, how I find out is when I was trying to adjust my rear and front derailleur, the chain keeps getting stuck on the front crankset. And I was wondering why it keeps getting stuck. And then I looked, the chain looks very loose when it's on the smallest cog. Let's see, I'm gonna just show you guys really quick. By the way, the shifter works perfectly, so really no complaints. You guys see the chain here? It's like super loose. And that firsthand told me that the chain is probably stretched beyond the useful life. And that's why when I try to go up a gear, let's see if it gets stuck this time. No, it didn't. But it sometimes gets stuck, so very bad, very dangerous. Now, I actually went ahead and ordered a brand new 7-speed chain, and that is the only thing that needs to be replaced on this bike. Everything else is in perfect working order. Now the shifter, I showed you guys, it didn't work before. All I did is I took the cap off and I lubricated and used the rust remover to kind of just remove all the old grease. And magically, the shifter works perfectly fine now. So really, there isn't anything that needs to be replaced on this bike, which I was really glad. So this is definitely a $75 well spent on a vintage bike restore. And also look at the paint. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, this is like a 27 years old model. Okay, so it's pretty old bike. And to have a bike in this great condition at this price, it's like a no-brainer. Like every time one of my friends tells me, oh, they want to buy a bike, they want to go to a department store and buy a bike, I always tell them, hell no, please don't. Those department store bikes, for the most part, they are not adjusted properly and they're gonna just fail pretty quickly. All the components are pretty bad. The best option is actually go out and buy a used bike within the affordable price range. So for example, this bike for $75 and just a little bit of the tune-up and a extra $9 7-speed chain, it's riding perfectly fine. So again, you can't beat a chromoly frame. This frame is gonna last you. It's already lasted 27 years without any issue. It's gonna last you another 20-30 years as long as you keep on riding it. Okay, so that actually concludes this restoration video. And again, to show you guys what I used to polish the frames to make them just look really, really nice. Little magic trick is this new finish, once a year car polish. Works fantastic on all kinds of glossy frames. Like once you apply it and you just wipe it, it's super shiny. So this is like the perfect bicycle restoration, secret that I'm telling you guys. Okay, so here you go. All the components. I'm gonna just do one last walkthrough. The A10 shifters. The brake is actually very comfortable. So eventually, if someone wants more braking power, they can always go with a V brake, but the caliper brake works totally fine in this instance. And the whole bike weighs about 29 to 30 pounds. So your standard mountain bike weight. And again, if you bring this onto the trail, as long as there's not a lot of climbing, you're not gonna feel it at all. It's gonna ride super smooth on the trail, okay? So the rear caliper brake, the cantilever brakes, A10 as well, whole A10 group set. So the sticker is kind of loose over here from this bike, but again, cosmetic, it's totally fine. The derailleur itself is in excellent condition, no major damage. So is the cassette. So this is one of those older style cassettes that doesn't have the hyperglide. However, if you want to upgrade, get a little better feeling, better shifting action, you can always just buy a hyperglide cassette for about $15. So to maintain a 7-speed bike, it's actually, really cheap. Any parts that breaks, you can get the replacement for super cheap. So really easy to maintain bike that's gonna last you forever, okay? If you guys have any questions about this very rare to find Fuji Outland 1993 model, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below. Otherwise, I hope you found this restoration, or this one I didn't restore much. I just de-rusted all the parts and fixed the shifter, and it's pretty much ready to go. So questions, comments, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below. Otherwise, hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I should have more similar contents coming on for you guys. Okay, so thanks again, and take care.